it's Elaine with Elaine's Custom Cards, and this is the card we're going to be making today. So, I've got a lot of it ready. I want to show you how I stamped these things to get them in two colors, because it's a one whole stamp. So I'll show you how I stamped these two things first. So you're going to need the Ranunculus Romance stamp set, which is what I used for this, and the coordinating dies that go with it. And then as we go along, I'll tell you where I got the sentiments and how I did the background on this card. But first, I'm going to show you how I stamped the flowers. So you'll need a piece of basic white cardstock that's about 2.5 by 4 1/4. That should be big enough to stamp them both. So for the ink for this, I used Orchid Oasis for the flowers, and then I used Pear Pizzazz for the leaves. And on this one I used Mango Melody and Pear Pizzazz. Okay, so we'll start with that. So put this here. It's a little bit of a trick to this, and you're going to need your Stampin' Right markers. Kind of helps with the coloring. So the first thing I did was kind of look to see where the bottom of these flowers is. So we're going to stamp that, make sure we got the flowers covered. And looks like I did. So maybe that one. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to take the Pear Pizzazz. Okay. And I'm going to take a Q-tip and wipe off the area that I want to be Pear Pizzazz and not Orchid Oasis, which would be these little spots here. Okay. Sometimes maybe a paper towel would work a little better, but I thought this might get in there easier without wiping everything off. And I'm going to wipe this off because I don't want a halo. Okay, so we'll do that. Set that aside, take our green, and go ahead and ink up the bottom of this. Sometimes it's a little difficult. You'll get it here. Okay, got quite a bit of ink on there, and then we're going to take our Stampin' Right marker and go ahead and use the right marker like this, and go ahead and color some more. It just spreads this ink around and adds a little bit more. It's a little bit more solid, like so. Careful not to get the stems that we wiped off. Okay, and we'll take our Pear Pizzazz and go ahead and ink up this stem right here, because it didn't get any ink on it. I might need to add some there. And then this one, and all of this with the leaves. Okay. Won't hurt if you get a little bit of a halo, because we're going to die cut this anyway. So once you do that, then you kind of go ahead and stamp it on here. Beautiful. Okay, with this one, kind of do the same thing, only we're going to use the Mango Melody, and we'll get the flower part on this This one's a little easier. So get that inked up, and then you take your green and ink up the stem. And if you get any where you don't want it, like right here on this flower, I don't want any there, just wipe it off, like so. And then I took this to make sure that my little flowers here got some ink, and then I inked a little bit more here in case it came off. And you can go ahead and just add ink like you did with the other flower. Take your green, and I kind of went up here to get some stem up in there. But it looks like I did pretty good on inking up the leaves and stuff, so I don't need to do anything with that. And then you just stamp it down, and there's your stamping. And then you're just going to die cut it out, both of them. I like to wipe this off because I don't like leaving ink on there. So when you're done with your stamps, just wipe them off. Okay. Like I said, this came from the Ranunculus Romance stamp set. Okay. So then you're going to just die cut these out, and you'll end up with these two pieces, just like that. And I snipped off part of this because I didn't want it to show. I can kind of see it here. Other people probably, I just snipped off I don't know, 1/4 of an inch off the end after I die cut it. So that's that. Let's close these so we don't get ink on ourselves. So let's set this aside. I can use that on another card. Okay, now the next thing I did was I took my other pieces. For my envelope, I did the same thing on my envelope with that flower image right there. So that's how I did my envelope. So I will do that later. So you're going to take a piece of your white cardstock, and I took some scrap paper, and this is from, let's see, what's it called? Oh, here it is. Artistic Mix Decorative Masks. This is one of the decorative masks in the annual catalog. And I just laid it down. Okay, had an interruption. Let's stop my video and restart. Okay, for this you're going to need some kind of a blender brush. You can get these from Stampin' Up. And then I used the Orchid Oasis. No, I did not use Orchid Oasis. I'm sorry. I got interrupted. I used Fresh Freesia for this. So, lay this on here kind of straight. You gotta hold it. You don't want it to move. And you just start adding ink. You can go all the way to the edge if you want. You don't have to. Just gotta make sure your mask doesn't move. You could tape it down. And the more ink you put on, the darker it'll get. If it moves, this one's pretty easy to put back. Sometimes I wish I had more hands. Okay. So that's what it looks like. Okay, then you're going to take this stamp and get my card, moved it. Okay, so you're going to take this stamp, make sure it's right side up, and then you're just going, second generation. I didn't want it really dark, so I inked it up, stamped off, and then just started stamping. Oops. I had to stamp off, but didn't. Okay. You're the only one that's going to know that it's not what you intended. Okay. Okay. You don't have to do that much. That's just what I did. Then I took my parakeet party. I cleaned this first. Get this out of the way. My parakeet party. And I wanted to put dottage on there. So, I'll show you how I did that. I took the Quiet Meadow, that's the stamp set, and the dottage from that. And this is another one, I think I did second generation on this as well, because I didn't want it super dark. Can barely see it, but to me it was enough. You're not going to see what's in the middle. You're only going to see the outside edges anyway. Here. So. Put as much as you want. Fill the whole thing up. You don't have to. That's what I did. Okay. Once you get all that done, stamp. Then you're going to start assembling the flowers. I have them all cut out. I also took some of the glimmer paper. This is the In Colors. This one's Tahitian Tide. Get that. And this one is Parakeet Party. And then I took these two things. Okay. And the first thing I did was decide how I want to arrange my flowers. And this one I wanted kind of behind this flower, behind in front of this. So I put a little bit of glue here. Oops, it's supposed to be a little. It was a lot. And I set this on there. It's like so. Like that. Okay. Then I took dimensionals. I put dimensionals on the back of this. Let's get this out of the way. Lots of dimensionals over here. You can put as many or as few as you like. I'll use that one up. I'll work on that later. You just want to make sure that it's popped up. And I took some mini ones because I don't want them to show. And then I took a little bit. Let's see, where did I cut that from? Right here. From the edge of this. Put it on the bottom of the stem, because I want the stem to stick up too. It's got to be a skinny enough piece that you're not going to see it. Okay. Then I took these and I cut the, these come from the dies. This leaf and this one. And then here's the dies I used to cut out the flowers. Okay. So I determined where I wanted them. I trimmed this leaf off. Okay. And I trimmed this because I don't need it to be that long. So you can snip that off. And I snipped the end of that one too. Okay. Then what I did was I set this on here and then started arranging how I wanted this. Okay. So we'll go ahead. This has the I don't know what you call it. It's the sticky sheets. They're in the annual catalog. Let's see if I can get that off of there. I'll put all of the supplies on my blog with the numbers so that you know what I used here. You don't have to do this. You can use glue. That's what I wanted to do. So I put this right about here, kind of at an angle a little bit. Laid that on there so make sure it's where I want it. Just like that. You see. Okay. And this has that stuff on it too. Like I said, you can use glue. You don't have to use this adhesive sheets. I think that's what it's called. I took that one and I wanted it right about here. Make sure I can see everything. And not see the stem part. That was my goal. So that looks like it could go right about there. Right here I can see this stem for some reason. A stem piece. What is that? Oh. Huh. Oh, I guess it's not the stem, it's leaves. Okay. Once I did that, then I needed to put this one on there. So this is going right about here, and then I wanted to tuck this one in. So we'll tuck that piece in. One thing about this, it's hard to get the backing off sometimes. So we're going to put this right, kind of right there. Okay, and we're going to take the backing off. These dimensionals. Just got that one already. The only one I'm not going to take off is this, because we're going to put that ribbon on there. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So once you get those off, oops, fumble fingers today. And then we're going to set this right on here, covering up the bottoms of those stems. And this is still up. Okay. Then we're going to take our ribbon, and this is the in color. This is pale papaya. So I like to do is tie the bow. I like to be upside down, because that way the tails come out and where I want them to. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this down now, because I've got my ribbon under there. Okay. Now we're going to tie the bow on the stem. Putting that piece of Stampin' Dimensional on the stem will keep your bow on the card. You don't want it to fall off. Turn it around, and then your tails should be pointing downwards. Just like so. Okay. Just like that. Then you can trim the ends off. Give it a little haircut there. Trim this one. Okay. The next thing is to attach it to here. We still got to do this. We're going to attach it to our piece of Orchid Oasis. This piece of basic white is 4 by 5 1/4, and this piece of Orchid Oasis is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, and I like to, let's go ahead and do our label. For this sentiment, I used, I can find it, I used many thanks from all of us, or you could use thank you for everything. This one, I used that for a thank you, but this one I'm going to use thank you for everything. Or you could use happy birthday. Or you could use, let's see, grateful for all that you do on the Bamboo Beauty stamp set. There's a lot of different things you can do. You can make a birthday card out of it. I think that we'll just use thank you for everything on this particular one. Get it off of there. All your cards don't have to be exactly the same, so you can use different sentiments. You can leave the sentiment off till you're ready for one, so you know what you want to use your card for. I used Orchid Oasis to stamp it. Okay. And then clean that off so I don't put my arm in it. Like I said, that comes from Flowers of Friendship. That's where these sentiments came from. It's also a cute one that says little card, big thanks. I like that. Okay, then we're going to trim this down so that it'll fit in here. And the size of that is 3/4 of an inch by about 2 1/2. So I'm going to trim that Gotta get all this out of my way so I don't end up with it all over myself. I'm going to use this trimmer and trim this down. So it needs to be 3/4 of an inch. So let's start by trimming off on the top. It's like so. And then I think that 3/4 of an inch will be just perfect without cutting any of my words off. What do you think? Yeah. Perfect. So then this needs to be, gotta have enough room to put your flags. What did I say that was? About 2.5. Perfect. Okay. So once you get it to the length that you need, you take your punch, and I want the indent here and the pointing there. So start with here, put it in, turn it over so you can see, punch. Okay, then you put it on the other side. Oops, it didn't work very well. This has several different sizes. This is 3/4, 1 inch maybe, and then the center is about 1/2 inch. So you can use this punch for different size sentiments or labels. Now, if you think that this is sticking out too far and you want it a little closer, you can do it again. Cut a little bit more off, which I think I'll do. If I can get it in there straight. You don't have to, it's probably fine. Anyway, then I took this Stampin' Blend that I was using, this blending brush, and I just lightly put a little bit of Orchid Oasis around it. Looks like so. Just so that is distinguishable on there as you see it. Okay. And then I attach this with dimensionals. I just used 2. Okay. It's like so. Put it right there in the front. Make sure it's straight. Okay. And then I took my card base and I wanted something nice for the inside. So I took my Orchid Oasis again, and this mask, not Orchid Oasis, this is Fresh Freesia. And on this I just kind of did around the center, because I'm going to stamp a sentiment in the center of the center here. It's like so. It's like that. That's all I did. Then I took my Orchid Oasis, and this says, "You are positively the greatest." And I stamped that right in the center of this. It's like so. Okay. Almost done. Next thing I did, after that's dry, was, oh, that was good, huh? Good thing I'm going to cover that. I didn't know how I got that on there, but we're going to cover it. Nobody will ever know. Cover that right up, just like that. Okay. And then I took my Wink of Stella and painted my flowers. Just these. Because I wanted them to be shiny, sparkly, like this stuff. And that's your card. That's your card for today. I did use some gems on here, and these are retired. You can use whatever you want. I used last year's gems, these ones, but you don't have to use those. You can use well, you can use these ones, Rhinestone Basic Jewels. I'm just trying to use up some of the stuff that I have. So if you have any of these, you could use these. And I use the ones that are this color. It's my little thing. Oh, here it is. And I use just the small ones. This is the Fresh Freesia. Like I said, this was last year's gems. And I put those on the front. Like so. That's your card for today, and then I will stamp the envelope so it looks like this. I hope you like this card, and that you have a blessed day. Have fun stamping. Remember, we've got until the end of the month for stamp celebration. For $99, you get $125 worth of product, plus there's a free planner with a stamp set. So if you're interested in that, if you need a catalog, just let me know. Thank you for watching, and you have a blessed day.